The forecast is showers at times with occasional thunderstorms with a high of 89 degrees. Welcome to the Cones and Doh Show.
Must be spring here. Doh's got a bit of spring in his step. I'm Doh.
Got my new fucking kicks on.
I just had a cigarette outside and I'm pretty sure I might have swallowed a filter, or it could have been like a small tampon.
That shit's gross.
I know, I don't know why I keep them in my tobacco pouch.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, you can get a cheap hit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just live for the moment. The Cones and Doh Show.
Oh, fresh. I like that beat. Nice work, man.
Yeah, cheers. Just mixing up a little. Well, while we started on there, and you said huffing and, getting stuff any way you can, we've been talking about ice a bit recently, and apparently cops have been raiding service stations in Western Sydney and St Mary's because Speedway Petrol is selling ice pipes just under the counter. You just rock up and buy the ice pipes at the servo.
In Western Sydney?
Yeah, in St Mary's and shit like that. Speedway.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Talk about Speedway. But that's not even nothing.
Excuse me.
Excuse you, yeah. In Germany, they just had a meeting of a bunch of homeopaths, discussing homeopathic medicine or whatever. And, well, regardless of what we think of that, the authorities were called and apparently 30 people was taken to hospital seriously from amphetamine poisoning. They don't know how they got it or whatever.
From a homeopathic
at a
place?
conference, at a homeopathic conference, and 30 of them were just taken ill to hospital from amphetamine poisoning.
Oh, it sounds like possible spiking, but otherwise they were having a party that went a bit too far.
Yeah. That's just not homeopathic. They're not staying true to themselves, though.
Yeah, isn't it like 10%? Don't you water it down massively? And
maybe they tried to water it down.
Or is that just one aspect of that homeopathic stuff? Is it a broader term and there's different...
I believe that's the gist of it, right? Is that you dilute it to sort of minuscule
amounts. Oh, so that
amounts.
isn't, okay.
But I don't know if they were doing that with, like, ice. Maybe they're doing it with ice, and they're like, we'll just use, 1% of the ice, but use the rest of, rat poison or whatever.
Just to get me to midday.
Yeah,
it's like a cup of coffee.
You know what these academics are like? They'll justify any fucking junket to some far-off land and shit, Fucking drug-addicted fools.
Well, on that note as well, I was thinking over our last little break about my insane drug policies that I like to bring up on the show and everything, and I had a little bit of a development to my retarded ideas.
Insane drug policy, that's that group with the face paint, right? And the juggalos, they drink that Plaigarism or whatever. Insane drug policy.
Oh, the clown posse.
Oh, okay. Fuck. Got confused. Alright.
But no, that is fucking cool.
Hit me.
Basically, on previous shows, I guess I was trying to say legalize everything, tell people what consciousness is, and then have the severity of the drug be matched by the setting you're taking it in and the amount of recovery you have to do. That was the perfect one. And then I guess the second development on the last show was that if you were caring less about having that much money invested into that kind of plan, you would just legalize all the drugs and then prosecute crimes with no thought about whether there was a mental disability as the driving factor for the crime.
No excuses, no mitigating circumstances.
No drug excuses and stuff.
Okay, if you do it, yeah.
But you can be treated for your mental disabilities and stuff. If you're a user and you're non-violent and you're not doing anything that consists of crime, you can still be treated and get your funding from government that way. I'm not trying to write that whole mental disability kind of sector off, but in terms of if you kill someone, you're still going to get prosecuted like you killed someone. I don't think it should get you off in that sense. It's pretty fucked up when that happens, but basically it led me to this basically eureka moment with the whole thing as well, where I was like, doctors should be using CBD oil, right? The cannabis oil. So basically for beginners, there's a couple of different compounds within cannabis or marijuana or whatever you want to call it. Like THC is the psychoactive stimulant, like the compound that heightens your brain activity and makes you high. And,
shit that gets you high.
Yeah. And the offset, the other part is the CBDs inside it as well, which if you get high CBD strains and refine the oil from it and give it to the little kids that have sort of epileptic seizures.
Yep.
It seems to calm their seizure activity down and that. So it seems like the CBD is the flip side. It's the one that calms down the hyperbrain activity. So in that light, I started thinking about past experiences that I may have had growing up and everything, where we've dabbled in some of these kind of super stimulant type substances, right?
Okay.
And then I've had both experiences where I've had weed to deal with it afterwards, and I've had experiences where I've been on those kind of things like ecstasy, or to more of an extent, I guess I'm talking about speed, or if you were doing ice or something like that.
Yeah. Back in your days on the street.
Yeah, and then having a come down and not having weed to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I found that whenever I had enough weed to sort of smoke the next day or whatever, you'd get through the problem, you'd go to sleep, and it'd be sort of all done, and you wake up the next day and it's sort of on the right path to getting back to normal.
Totally. When you're young, at least.
And now it seems like there's sort of a scientific basis to that, like there possibly could be this CBD compound, like, or, you know, the weed is sort of chilling your brain out to a certain extent. So I thought in that light it'd be cool to have the doctors then treat these psychopathic, non-stop masturbating ice heads that are trying to like stab nurses for helping them and all this retarded shit, and then just strap them down and either, however you can do it, I don't know that you can shoot up cannabis oil, but force feed them like
just punch Billies and blow it in their face and stuff.
Yeah. But like force feed them a bunch of CBD oil, so then it just makes their brain chill the fuck out and they stop being a complete fucking asshole. Because I've found from first-hand experience that if you do have that that thing to offset that hyperbrain activity, telling you to either do more of that shit or just do something insane.
Yeah, fuck rabbits and that sort of stuff.
It just
fling your poo at the nurses like a monkey.
Like for a straight person, weed might make you a bit fucked up, but like for a person that's totally fucked, weed might keep you in line.
But how would it mesh with, like, say, some antipsychotics that they might be prescribed? Or are you looking at it more as a holistic replacement for all those pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, a replacement. I wouldn't subscribe any of that sort of stuff. It seems like most of the people that do mass shootings are subscripted to
Warcraft.
to weird antidepressants, or what are they? The MAO inhibitors and shit like that.
Yeah, all those. I'll take beta blocker, child murder, fucking. We'll give you this. The side effects might be you might shoot up your skull and play Warcraft all day. But alright, I like that.
Yeah, my policy's fucking really developing, man. I don't know.
Your policy's good, and I like the scientific backing, but it's interesting.
And then you wouldn't feel guilty about using these experimental sort of medications and stuff on these dickheads that are just won't stop masturbating and are trying to assault everyone. So you'd be like, no, you can be the guinea pig, you piece of shit.
Yeah, but you're gonna have like Christian groups and stuff like save the masturbators. Like this is unethical, and you're like, man, fuck.
I think they need weed as well.
Everyone needs a lot of weed. But it's funny you say these studies about the ingredients calming you down and shit. Like, I'm sure Bone Thugs said back in the 90s, like, weed keeps you at ease. Like, they'd already done the work. And one other point on that, I'm not sure that there's a better word in English.
Put it up to your temple, blow your brains out, die.
I don't think there's a better word in the English language than cannabinoids. So... but that's good. I like your evolving drug policy. I'd like to see you maybe in front of a Senate inquiry or something sometime soon, but you'll like this. From what I could put together, reading a bit of stuff, in Scandinavia, there's a government agency that regulates and informs the public about mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And which ones are good to have and which ones aren't.
Because it comes from their history as well. They've always been doing mushrooms, right? Like for thousands of years.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know for sure, but it sounds right. Like
they put it in Vikings, that show on HBO or whatever it is, or FX, or I can't remember.
I can imagine these metal bands fucking going around foraging for fucking truffling or whatever it's called.
Oh, dude, mushrooms are good for you. You just gotta... It's sort of like we need more shamans around the place to help guide people through those sort of experiences.
Totally. Chasing boards and picking mushrooms. Fuck, that sounds good. Well, that's. I mean, if you don't mind, if I can relate that to something else. That sounds good compared to, we're talking about madness and everything like this, and sometimes I feel on the edge a bit and stuff like that. I'm pretty sane, but sometimes we all
been keeping it together.
Yeah, I've been keeping it together, even though well, that'll come out in the wash. But okay, this happens to me within 3 minutes this afternoon, right? I'm walking through the pedestrian tunnel. I see a homeless person because I feel bad for them usually. So I get my money out, and I saw her there earlier, and she's like this Miss Marple driving Miss Daisy looking like old woman. Nice dress though, not like bum homeless dressed. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad. And I've been feeling like a bit of a cunt for my views and stuff recently. So I'm like, oh, I'll do a charitable act and stuff. And so I pull out my wallet and start getting my money out as I walk towards her, and she starts looking at me. And I get closer and realise that she's not homeless at all. She doesn't have any hat or any little box for me to put money in. And instead she's selling something, but I can't stop and look at it because she's like staring at me, and it was like I only wanted to give money from her because I felt bad and thought she was homeless, but she's selling some weird little thing and I don't have time to look, and she's looking right at me, and it was just so awkward. I just put my money back in the wallet and kept walking. So that happens first, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
That happens first. Then I walk up instantly out of the stairs and I see this sad fat old person selling the big issue with Russell Brand's face on it, saying brand power, and I'm like, oh, fuck you. Fuck you, that cuts me so much. And then have to wait for my bus, and while I'm waiting for my bus, as like the surrounding environments is like 4 sus, like local and refugee looking sus looking guys staring through the window of the 7-Eleven where the bus stop is, just
from the inside.
No, from the outside. And I'm waiting with the bus outside, staring inside at this chick like slowly making a Slurpee. Like this teenage girl, like using, like taking her time, like getting some from one flavour and the others, and then just like 4 of them just staring at her while I'm waiting for the bus. So this happens in a space of 3 minutes, and how are we meant to...
Maybe they were just making sure she wasn't wheezing the juice.
Wheezing? What's wheezing the juice?
It's out of Insudo, man, from my back in the day. Yeah. With Paulie Shaw being the whistle.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, I guess he was weaseling the juice, but he says wheezing the juice in it.
Well, the point was that Paulie Shaw... I had a Paulie Shaw level of
and
sanity.
I was implying that if they were those... tourist-looking folk, or how did you put it? Refugee kind of people.
That's not much better.
Then they probably were keeping an eye on the 7-Eleven for real.
What, to make sure I didn't get robbed, or?
They were probably just on a smoke.
4 of them? They didn't need 4 of them. And they're all different dudes. There were some local guys too. But
splitting the workload.
Anyway, the point of this isn't to have a go at our poor refugee perv community.
Sorry, racist ripping fuck.
Yeah, that's
dirty.
Pretty offensive. As a man of Indian extraction myself, I find that quite offensive. But I'm just saying that humans aren't meant to... No, don't read too deeply into what I said. My general point was that level of stimuli in such a short... In that urban stimuli, like, our brains are meant to be able to deal with, like, panthers coming out at us and shit like that, right? They're not meant to have to process fucking Russell Brand being sold by a homeless guy with his fucking little Jesus-looking face on side. And, oh, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Drives me to the brink of sanity sometimes.
I was hoping you were going to give $2 to the big issue guy, personally.
I should have, because I didn't give it to that fucking driving mistake.
Even if you don't take the paper, like, nah, mate, don't want that.
Yeah, keep the change. Keep your fucking Russell Brand magazine. But anyway, that's...
But no, that was a weird twist of events or whatever.
Yeah.
Get mindfucked by the first one, sort of ignore the second thing, and then there's this...
I just have to sort of sit there with the last one and just observe.
Yeah, that was like a Picasso, the last bit.
Can I get a witness? That's all I can be is a witness to history sometimes. That's what I'm going to say. But yeah, I'll that's that.
Thinking about the conversation we had last week about music and all that at the start, I was thinking, I believe I heard it somewhere else, maybe from Jizza in a discussion he was having with Neil deGrasse Tyson, from the Wu-Tang. But basically, he was saying it about rap music, but I thought it applied to music in general, that there's sort of always party, revolution, and insight music. There's sort of always those 3 types of music. He was saying it applies to hip-hop mainly.
Was party, revelation, and insight?
Party, revolution. And insight music. So, and I think that applies to all music rather than just like heaps of genres, or at least music with lyrics.
Yeah.
But hip-hop does sort of display it in the biggest way, I guess, how you can just have the, yeah, I'm getting fucked at the club and all this kind of shit. And then you can have the revolution type shit like Immortal Technique and that trying to like paint these issues, or Public Enemy sort of bringing that, African American stuff to the forefront in a way that reaches a bigger audience, or Dead Prez, and then you got insight kind of music, which is probably more the Wu-Tang and the Jizza and the RZA trying to explain what consciousness is and how it applies to God and all those sort of things. And they all exist within hip-hop. It just depends what the mentality of what people kind of like at the time is.
Yeah.
And it just seems more and more these days that everyone's just into the party shit.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the only group that I can think of that fulfills all three of those, sometimes on the same album, is the Black Eyed Peas.
I got a feeling.
We gotta change the world. That sort of stuff. But
with my lumps.
Oh, the boys that want to sex me.
What's the line I always get wrong from that Fergie song? It's like,
jet plane.
Yeah, something on a jet plane.
In your ass, or whatever it is. In Glamorous. The floss.
What's the real line?
That's a jet plane up in the sky or something, I think. On birthday.
Oh, I can't remember. Maybe it was just chat plane or something.
On a chat plane. Well, on that note, actually, that is very interesting. And I was thinking about, I was reading a bit about Cat Stevens recently, who you'll be familiar with.
Oh, I'm on a shit plane.
Shit plane. Up in your ass. I think it's jet plane, but Cat Stevens, who you will know from Chat Stevens, who I believe is the name we've used for some online games and stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got a Chat Stevens account.
Yeah, Chat Stevens, but the original Cat Stevens, who I suppose you'd be like, he'd be insight music. I was thinking another category could be like reflective, but that passes for insight. So
yeah, kind of like Bob Dylan kind of shit.
Yeah. But I was reading about sort of how people make some of their music, and he played bits and pieces that tried to go after a certain sound when he was in his early 20s in like swinging London, and he was having a bit of success but not really doing stuff that he wanted to. And then he got hit down in like 1968, like ravaged by really bad tuberculosis, and was in the hospital for ages, right? And reflected on his life and stuff and that, and came out and wrote 40 songs, like 40 of my famous songs, straight after getting out of hospital from the tuberculosis.
It's like 50 Cent.
Yeah, exactly. He's a bit like 50 Cent, except 50 Cent's more... Oh, he's insight music too, I guess. Oh, into clubs probably a bit.
And
more.
what Jimi Hendrix would be like a revolution of party music.
Yeah, well, in the 60s it was all that was
party revolution.
Yeah, which had its own insight. Like Woodstock is those three combined and mainlined into your fucking vein. Whereas Woodstock 99 was more like destruction, Limp Bizkit music.
But yeah, so I thought that was kind of a bit of genius from the genius himself, speaking to another genius in Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I thought it applied even further than he was saying, because he was applying it to hip-hop, but I think that transcends that argument and just applies to music in general. Unless you start going back to orchestral or instrumentals, where it's getting harder and harder to define what the purpose of it was in the first place. But
that classical, which I'm not totally up on, but it's like...
It's almost funded by the royalty and that in the first place. It gives a composer a way to make brilliant music, but it's still...
I don't know, that's on a level that I'm not quite at. Like, I can respect
it's almost like a church
music.
choir, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of inspired by... Okay, well, I'd say church music has its own thing, and I guess that was inspired by, like, this aspiration towards God and, like, particularly the Catholic Church and everything like that. And I suppose once you get into what we know as classical music, like Beethoven and the rest like that, it's sort of aspiring to the ideals of the Enlightenment that was happening around it, sort of,
True, yeah.
Like the evolution from sort of church hymns and that sort of divine music onto this new thing that sort of, to our untrained ear, it sounds like all the same shit.
Yeah, trying to represent it emotionally through music, kind of, or like that, the way that it inspires emotion in that.
And Wagner, I was reading about his Ring Cycle the other day, and basically he wanted to do an opera about the whole, like, Norse mythology and everything like that. And he wrote a thing about...
Like Nordic mythology.
Yeah, Nordic mythology and everything, but combined with the old Greek tragedy and, like, Italian opera. And he tried to do it in the 1850s and wrote a thing I read a bit of to his friends saying, like, I've tried to do this, but, the current structure isn't right for being able to do it. I can't convey what I want. So I spent 25 years developing the 4 kind of movements of the Ring Cycle, which kind of developed a whole...
Became.
Yeah, no, it became. It developed a whole new kind of form of opera, like a German sort of thing on it. And like
a new iteration of opera,
Yeah, a new iteration.
Okay, cool. Because I knew that Wagner was so much more recent than...
Yeah, so he's more recent. He was with the rise of Germany and all that, but that's all I can really say. And I just thought that was cool, but I can't quite... I'm not at Wagner's level yet. I'm only at Hitler's level, So. Or the Black Eyed Peas, whichever you think's worse. Well, while you just grab that for a second, I'll let you talk in a second. But I got another joke for you. I'm not too good at jokes, but did you hear about the urine-loving Scotsman who walked into a bar?
can't say that I did, laddie.
Yeah, he walked up to the bartender and was like, "Can I have a wee drink?"
Fuck yeah, you're ready to be a dad.
Fuck.
No, that was a bit better.
I don't want to bring a child into this hellish world. Have him fucking have to flee to Germany and shit.
I was at a family gathering kind of recently where we had like a lunch and everything, and it was like kind of semi-extended family there, and some sort of second cousins and that, and I got ribs for lunch, like pork ribs, a full rack, and I was like, yeah, gonna demolish it. And I put my little, they give you a bib or whatever, even though it was just at this sort of RSL type place, or maybe it was a beach hotel, I think. And when I chucked it on, it looked really cool, and it was one of those bibs with all the indents in it, so it looked kind of checkered, but it's all white. And when I had it on, it vaguely reminded me of the outfit in this Fallout shelter game I've been playing on my phone, and it's called the clergy outfit, and it looks like sort of this Pope outfit, right? And when I put my ribs bib on, I was sitting to sort of this distant relative I don't see that often, and I was like, oh, it looks like clergy, and I totally forgot that they're all Catholic or whatever, and he just sort of did this like, and just sort of made this noise and just sort of looked the other way, and then I kind of remembered that they were Catholic, and I was like, ooh, in my head I was just like, ooh, that was blasphemous.
Are they all wearing the
like
same?
calling my shitty ribs bib fucking like the clergy, like clothing and shit, like, yeah.
Were they all wearing the same bib or just you?
I just got ribs, other people got fish and chips, and people got all this different shit, so
but you were
and a couple of other people had them, but I got the ribs first, I think. So
you were the Pope, sort of. Yeah. Oh, that's hectic. I
don't give a shit, and it wasn't that bad because there was no malice in it, but it was just like I was expecting like haha, and then it was like, ooh,
it's just dead. It reminds me of when my dad's boss, who was like came over, this was ages ago, and he's like this super like strict dour sort of Lutheran guy from Pittsburgh, right? So like he's serious straight-laced American, and they were, round at our place and having some beers or whatever, and I came down and I must have been like 11 or 12 and just got a fresh new South Park shirt, and it had like 6 dead Kennys on it, and I walked
all
out,
like stabbed and shot, and
all fucked up, and like I walk out and this guy's like, oh, hello, I'll exchange pleasantries, and he's like, what you got there? And I'm like, oh, this is like this Kenny, and like he's on a show called South Park, and like a prostitute used his toothbrush, and then he did that, and she gets stabbed, and I just started saying all this fucked up crazy shit.
To one of your dad's mates?
Yeah, no, not his mate, his like super strict Christian boss or whatever kind of thing, who he was trying to impress, and my dad apparently told me later, just like, in the corner, because I'm like 11 or 12, and this is the type of family that wouldn't let their fucking 16-year-old daughters watch The Simpsons or something. I'm like 11 or 12, like, gets eaten by the rat, and then they put his body up on the flagpole, and saying this crazy shit. But you are the clergy, man. I'm going to call you that from now on, alright?
Yeah, that was it was kind of awkward, but in my inside I was having a great time. Like, it wasn't that bad. I had this fucked up idea the other day as well that basically, and I'm sure probably someone's had it before, but I think that cosplay and all of that Comic-Con shit, is basically and war reenactments are basically the same thing.
LARPing and stuff.
Yeah. So all those guys that are doing the Civil War reenactments and all that kind of shit in America, they should all just merge and just rock up at Comic-Con every year so they can all dress up together.
I saw an ad for Comic-Con, it's coming back here. I was on the back of a bus and it was like, unleash your inner geek. So yeah,
I wouldn't mind maybe going to see a couple of stores and stuff, but it just seems like such a hectic thing when you go to a festival that gets like so many people to it.
Can we put the contemporary actual army in there? Because that's sort of cosplay too.
Maybe we'll get a hard drive recorder and we can go and do a live cast.
From Comic-Con. Oh man.
We can take acid first. Is that Iron Man?
I'd have to be paid. If Comic-Con will sponsor us to go there and pay it out, then I'll do that, but I don't think I could stand that. All these fucking Pikachu motherfuckers. Oh, don't get me started.
So we're up for it now.
Don't get me started.
A tab each and Comic-Con podcast.
Don't get me started. I'd rather fucking go to Syria than fucking Comic-Con right now, to be honest. But yeah, if you get us tickets to either, we'll see if we can check it out.
Oh, the other stupid and slightly offensive thought I had was that, and it's kind of undeniable, but people aren't going to like it, maybe, but
I'll be the judge of that.
Transgenderism is unwittingly, and then I had in brackets, or wittingly, the first step of transhumanism, like cyborgs and genetically engineered humans and all that kind of stuff. So whether they like it or not, they are doing this stuff that's modifying a body into a form that's neither male or female. It's a representation that humans think is pretty cool. And then, they're already doing that shit. So when people start complaining about putting the chips in and doing all this other stuff, and just remember, people are already chopping their dicks off and doing all this cool body mod shit anyway. So
dicks out.
It's already begun.
Dicks out, chips in, G's up, hose down.
The conspiracy theorists are going to go nuts.
Well, it's funny you should mention this, because I alluded earlier to being sort of angry and stuff, and part of the reason is why is because I'm reading super heavy shit at the same time that I'm immersed in this bullshit kind of shallow pop culture. I've been dipping into Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, right? And I won't go deep into it, but there's parallels to our day here, and sort of, the general, most people have a basic understanding of the Roman thing is that they rose by being heaps strong, and then because they were so rich and great, they sort of decayed morally and stuff and everything like that, and succumbed to luxury and laziness and everything, and allowed themselves to be overrun. And there's some interesting parallels.
They'd rather have the lead in the aqueduct.
And not only that, but this is what it says, and this was written in the 1700s. This is Gibbons writing about it. We may observe that the use and value of those effeminate slaves, eunuchs, gradually rose with the decline of empire. So if you compare that to sort of the rise of transgender politics now, it means we're living through the decline of the empire. Same thing happened before.
That's bad news, America.
It's bad news for everyone, except the transgender. They're having a whale of a time. Like, they're getting on it. So I can't argue with Stella getting her groove back, so to speak. But
it's going to be a brave new world for a brave new girl.
The history will be like the past, only more. Would you consider becoming a girl?
No, I see that parallel. I think also some people might find it offensive. But
totally. Yeah,
we're not. We're not pitching it solely for that. We find it quite. I find it entertaining anyway. That's a fucking cool parallel.
Yeah. I'm past the point of caring about being offensive, but I'm not going to be for the sake of it, because this is about intellectual discussion.
No, that's fucking cool.
But I take
so they.
But you're like transgender.
It's because they run. It's because there's such a almost like. Sorry if I'm just speaking shit, but it's almost like the divide of the elite versus the people in that sense rules out so much of the masses for the elite people to be able to fuck that they need these new like genetically engineered sex slaves for them to just it's a eunuch as well, so they have no drive. All they're there for is for their little boss to do whatever, and I guess there's more self involved in our day, which is cool, and there is that positive side to it where it's trying to empower people, blah blah blah. But
I know
back in the Roman days, that's psycho. That's just straight up eunuch.
Which is sort of like the equivalent. I'm not an expert on this, but okay, it's going to offend people either way. But to explain it better without being offensive, what I mean is that at those periods in their civilization, they felt more comfortable in exploring sort of novel kind of sexual ways and attitudes, rather than a society that's going to be conquering and stuff, which is going to have a lot more discipline and stricter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you get so relaxed that you start looking at all the new ways of doing shit. And it's sort of like how all the first world countries seem to get to a level where they progress, but then the population rate falls off. And
then we get invaded by Muslims.
Yeah, you get you get comfortable, yeah. Well, yeah, you run out of votes, and then you need fucking a bunch of people that really like you because you let them in to come and vote for you. If you want to play that conspiracy bullshit side of it or whatever.
My problem is I always was bookish and always thought you could get a better idea and understanding the world the more you read, but I've come to the conclusion some of the most intellectual, well-read people are some of the biggest fucking idiots in the world.
Yeah, and straight up bigots and shit.
Well, bigots, ideologues, fucking this and that, but whatever. Enough politics is doing my head in. So I've been reading that and fucking listening to World War I podcasts about all these people dying, and then flicking through Facebook, and it's like, check out this hilarious Taylor Swift parody. And so these two things are, that tension sort of destroying my mind, and Mike is the therapist, so...
I guess just try not to let it distract you. I know what you mean, but I watched a World War II statistics video the other day, which was just doing all the death tolls and trying to put them on a graph, and kept like making the screen way bigger when it had to like add Russia and stuff like that. And, like, oh my god. But yeah, that was kind of freaky. But just don't dwell on it. It's cool. It's cool seeing that shit. Sometimes it keeps you grounded in context with that bad lip reading and all this nonsense kind of Creed shreds videos and shit. You know, like yeah.
I don't know.
Down now.
I'm just overstimulated, I think. That's enough of that.
In terms of that sort of that trans stuff, I watched like the LGBT movement or whatever. I watched a current affair. Maybe it was current affair. I'm not sure. 60 Minutes, some shit like that, on a lady that went through the transformation to become a man as well, and had a child in some stage of it as well, I think, when she was in her transformation. And then it kind of opened me up to it a lot as well. It was like a really quite moving personal story. But it just sort of... It also seemed to highlight... Because I think we should support anyone that wants to do anything like that at the end of the day. I do think we should support the individual and look at all of their rights. And if they want to do it, man, so be it. Like, you know, I'm up for positivity. If it's something that they feel is going to help their life, then totally go for it. The only one thing that just kept coming up in the documentary, though, just seemed to be the confusion that just seemed to be inherent to these stories or whatever. And it just seems like they're really not sure. And like a lot of people are confused about a lot of things, and it just seems like if you're super confused, this thing seems like...
This is an avenue.
Yeah, like, oh, maybe I am a girl in a guy's body, and these sort of things. It seems like, yes, we should support them, but like it gets to a level where people then start saying freaky shit because of an agenda or something. But it got to a weird point. I think I might have had this conversation off air with you sometime where I was thinking, well, if that's cool and like we want to just be like positive for everyone, and we can have adoption for anyone that seems good with police checks and all that kind of shit, and like anyone should be able to have IVF and this to help them have a child if they're having trouble, then I think at the end of the day I should be allowed to take my genetic material and then put it in a test tube and then get like a donor egg and strip the DNA out of it and just make a direct clone of myself and raise it as my own little me child. Like, yeah, dog, little dough. And just be like, just pimping out little dough and just giving him all the dope knowledge and shit. And they're like, whose kid is that? And it's like, no, that's me, man. That's me.
So the egg doesn't have any of the woman's genetics.
And you got to support me too. I'm supporting you, so...
Yeah. I'll
support you guys. I want you to all be happy, but just remember when this cloning shit takes off, I'm getting a little dough baby. So
I wouldn't count on that. All these LGBT guys, they throw each other under the bus each time they have to. But no, I understand what you mean. Like, it's hard to get angry at people for making sort of individual choices about their sexuality, because that's what our society is.
Anyone should be able to do this shit if it's out of fucking love and shit. Who cares? Like,
there are demographic and sort of sexual consequences.
But if you're some old fucking conniving freak that's like sort of a vaguely veiled straight dude that has bi intentions that are all fucked up in the dark and shit.
Bruce Jenner.
Yeah, and then is trying to make other people become transgender so that they can fill your fucked up fantasy, then you're a complete cunt. You know, like, you're trying to confuse people into doing something fucked up and confusing. But I have no problem with people coming to those conclusions on their own and for, like, you know, the right reasons. But if there is some potential puppet masters, because it's all very complex, it's always going to be quite the natural idea, and it is good. But then there is going to be one-off circumstances where there's these people doing fucked up shit like that, you know? There could be one or two people that have done that to someone, you know? Like, nah, maybe you're just a guy.
I don't know. Like we said, everything old is new again.
Those fucking people like Ariel Castro and that fucked up Austrian dude exist, you know?
That's
Weird
true.
shit fucking exists.
I know, and like I was saying, everything old is new again, but the media messaging is just a wild card joker in the pack about how it works this time, like the sort of messages it's sending out and stuff. It is nice to think everyone will come to that conclusion themselves. I know my path to Buddhism is definitely very much a personal journey.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go up, not down.
Yeah. I left Hinduism because I just love Big Macs so much. But I take your point, but fuck. Fuck politics right now. It's doing my head in.
But you're on board, though. I'm getting the little clone baby.
I'm on board. Oh, the clone baby. Sorry, you're interrupting. So, it's 100% your genetic material.
Yeah, totes.
Do you, like, dress it the same as you? Like you would a fucking little twins and shit kind of thing?
Yeah.
Your little striped polo shirt?
There's this doped out little dough baby, and then they're like, oh, he's swearing and stuff. And it's like, it's cool, I swear. Oh, that's how I talk, it's fine.
So he does.
But I guess you can't do that as a parent and all this kind of shit, but it brings up those kind of weird, like, oh, that's kind of a weird thing to say. Because it is you.
You know what would be fucked? That makes... It just strikes me as, well, okay, that's obviously fucked up having 100% of your genetic material in this child, right? But you know how it's normally 50-50? What if through genetic testing they can change it so you get other proportions? It's like 80% of you, but like a little bit of the chick. Like, no, I don't want too much of it. You can sort of achieve. Like, the couples could go...
Just for the eyes and the smile.
Yeah, the couples could go in together and they do it up on like a little identikit, like where the police have to catch rapists and stuff. Like...
Fuck, yeah, like, you could go for both genders, obviously, which... It brought up that...
Are you going to make your child intersex?
No. But it was a funny thing I saw randomly the other day that I'd never thought of before, but makes perfect sense, is that even the word hermaphrodite is the mashup of Hermes and Aphrodite. So it's like God, and it's male and female.
Is it really? Are you just making that
Hermaphrodite. It's Hermes and Aphrodite, yeah.
It is actually Hermes and Aphrodite combined? Fuck, that's crazy.
Like, it basically is hermaphrodite. Like
hermaphrodite. Like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Fuck.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that sounds like one of those back in the 90s pre-internet rumours, like Richard Gere's gerbil and shit.
Oh, that was early stuff. The weirdest one, I don't think I mentioned, was G-Fuck, a friend telling us that Jay-Z had a Coke-shaped...
Pepsi bottle.
Coke-shaped like a Pepsi bottle. And then, like, 10 years later, I read, like, groupie testimonies. And they're like, Jay-Z's so big, he sticks like the shape of a Pepsi bottle.
Oh, right.
And he got that 10 years early. So.
I hope Gareth hasn't been on the internet again.
Oh, you just dropped his name.
Oh, shit.
Might have to bleep that shit.
It's alright.
Oh, man.
Isn't he Garth anyway? Like Wayne and Garth?
Wayne and Garth. His party's found it. I'll let you... I know you've got a feature and stuff in a second, but we were talking about rap earlier.
Yeah.
One of the sort of biggest sour grapes weak boast things I've seen is like these white supremacists saying like, oh, black culture didn't achieve anything and stuff, right? And then someone's like, oh, what about like in music and stuff? And they're like, they didn't even invent rap. It's taken from their old Scottish slave masters who used to have like insult duels. And apparently it was a Scottish tradition to like verbally, rhythmically insult each other, and therefore blacks just stole hip-hop from that. And therefore, like, you know, we should credit the Scots with all those achievements. And I'm like,
I don't know I would word it that way, but
it's pretty weak.
There is older tradition of rhythmic and, you know, like syncopated insults that rhyme and shit, and then having back and forth. So it is basically rap battling.
I'm playing the dozens, laddie.
But at the same time, that's like every time music gets to that next level, it transcends the old one. So it's like the way that Guns N' Roses stole Australian Crawl's song and then made it into a better song. Sure. Like, because, like, I think, like, yeah, I like Sweet Child of Mine better, but they still definitely ripped off this other song pretty much to make this awesome song. So, I don't know, it's sort of transcended it in a way, but it's almost like Aussie Crawl being so close to them in the years that they were around maybe got a bit fucked, but with that sort of Scottish to the recent rap movement, I think it is more of a transcendent thing. Like, it's become something far... Well, I don't know about superior, because it's all about the context you're in, and if you were living then, that shit would have been fucking dope being in a Viking rap battle, you know? But I think it has transcended it.
I don't think you can credit hip-hop as that inventing hip-hop because they, like, oversaw the slaves that eventually invented hip-hop.
No, that's what, I was shooting it down, yeah.
Oh, okay, alright. I thought you were holding it up.
No, fuck yeah.
Fucking Nazi. No, sorry, okay, I'll take your point.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's totally transcended that Viking era stuff, and I think it was a big enough gap between them as well that it is a legitimate kind of new invention or new idea, because so much time's fucking passed since that.
I was trying to think whether you were right in that stuff if it builds on something, it transcends it. And I'm like, well, you know...
It can and it can't.
Yeah.
You can be a fucking hack.
I was like, is Crazy Frog's Axel F theme better than Beverly Hills Cop theme?
No,
you know?
no, that's fucking hacky and shit. But if you're a kid that grew up on all that Crazy Frog shit,
ding, ding,
and then you hear the original, you may, oh fuck, I don't want some fucking thing that sounds like this 80s version of that awesome Crazy Frog song.
There was a homeless guy playing that on the synthesizer, like a little keyboard in the pedestrian tunnel the other day, just with the like Casio like beat on. And him doing dun, dun, dun. And then straight away he did like a few bars of it and went into Jump by Van Halen. Just on the same beat going. Fuck, I should give him some money. He was entertaining the other time.
Fuck yeah. That guy sounds dope.
Totally.
I was thinking as well last week when I was editing the cast, the bit that we were talking about music with how you were mentioning how Dave or Dash introduced you to dance music and all that stuff, and I kind of got on this other tangent about how I had these immature views and about music and stuff. But no, I had this like it made me think I had this cool drive with Dash in Canada sometime from, I think it was Revelstoke, or maybe from Red Mountain to Revelstoke. So there was a couple of hours worth of driving and burning down across this cool car ferry and all this quite cool scenery and stuff. And we listened to it was like a Tomorrowland after video or something like that they put on YouTube after Tomorrowland's been on every year. And we had this kind of cool dance soundtrack just pumping while we were burning down to the ferry wharf to try and make it across to get to Revelstoke. And we were running a little bit late, it seemed, but we managed to pump it heaps and beat the GPS's estimated arrival time by like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then we made it down to the ferry wharf in time. It was pretty sick.
Good scenery.
But yeah, the dance music did make it quite an exciting drive at times as well.
Well, I find dance music, it gels in your head with like certain sort of memories and stuff. So if you're driving through this sweet landscape and shit like that. But
yeah, it was good for the picturesque kind of mountain views and snow-capped mountains and shit.
I wouldn't on sitting in traffic on Cleveland Street or whatever. So a lot of people do. A lot of people love it. But.
Well, the other day, I don't want to make this fucking Doh'sDream show or whatever the fuck, but every now and then I have one that's sort of, you know, maybe worth telling you. So, and they may go blank for a number of months, and this shit won't happen too much anymore. But the other day I had this dream. I was on a jumbo jet, and I was on kind of the exit row where you've got a bunch of room in front of you, but I was lying in front of my dad's kind of feet. He was on the exit row, and I was lying down in front of all their feet, sort of in the open space, and my chair was supposedly against the wall, sort of with your back to the side of the airplane, like an old bus in New South Wales.
Yep.
And my seat wouldn't fold down; it was all broken, so it was just folded up against the wall under the window, and I was lying down against the wall with my right arm hooked through the seatbelt.
Yeah.
Like just being like, oh, and it was heaps of turbulence, and I'm like, oh, this is so sketchy. I don't have this proper seat, and I'm just hooked in with my arm in the seatbelt, and it was getting really weird. And the seatbelt wouldn't work, and then the seat ripped off the wall from the turbulence.
Fuck.
So I'm like, oh fuck, I've got nowhere to attach this seatbelt to now. So I crawled through the turbulence to find a free seat just down, and I ended up in sort of the aisle against the wall, but I was able to get down as if there's a gap between the seats on the edge of the plane, which there isn't, but it was just this cool shit. So I'm crawling down there, and then I try to start watching from this sort of gap in a row of seats that I get to, the in-flight movie screen.
Sure.
And
why not see a movie while you're crammed down?
Yeah, and obviously the in-flight movie screen is facing the side of the plane for me to watch or whatever, right? So I'm like hanging, and I get to this free seat, and I sit down, and then I see this old dealer that I used to know, right, from school, and he comes over to me and sits next to me, and he spills all this yellowish pink shit all over himself in his lap.
Fuck.
And then, like, ounces of it, and then, like, starts freaking out, and this air marshal starts coming over, right? And he tries to put the rest of the leaking bag into my lap and pocket and shit. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And, like, instantly I know it's heroin. I don't know whether that would be that color at all, but just in my mind, I'm like, oh shit,
you know it's heroin. You know it's fucking gear.
And then it's a bit on my leg, right? Like a bit of powder and shit on my leg, and I'm in this new seat now, and I'm away from my dad, and oh shit, what's going to happen? And I ended up getting comforted by other passengers, like, sticking up for me and shit, like, oh, no, it wasn't his. We saw him try and put that shit in his pocket, and, like, the old dealer friend of mine had all this fucking shit all over him and, like, you know, ounces of it in his lap. So I was like, yeah, it's totally this guy's. So after the ordeal with the heroin spilling in the lap and shit is all done, right?
Yep.
Like, the dealer's gone and shit, I'm just sitting there and there's this free seat next to me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just chill. My dealer friend comes back, like, after all this shit's gone down, like he should have been busted or something, but he comes back and he's like, he's in, like, good spirits, right?
Yeah.
And he gives me an ounce or two of this really stinky weed, and it's just in, like, a lunch satchel. So I'm like, oh, fuck, and I put it into the breast of my jacket pocket and start to worry about the smell, because it fucking reeks. And then the dealer starts loudly taunting about how much the weed smells, or whatever, like, dude, it fucking reeks, it fucking reeks. And then I fucking start to get paranoid at that and go to find a seat away from him, because, like, it's like, oh, this guy's sussing me out again and again.
Yeah.
And then but I didn't.
So you've got the weed,
but I kept the weed this time, right? Like, I'm like, heroin's bad, but I'll keep the stinky weed.
Sure.
And then at this point, it feels like I've been on the plane for, like, this really fucking long time, like to the UK or something hectic like that.
Oh.
And I look out the window, and it feels like something's sort of been wrong about the flight, and then the clouds outside the window start to look like sea foam.
All right.
And I'm like, oh, that's fucked out. And as I started to consider whether we were actually flying through volcanic ash or something like this, it looked like dirty bubbles and stuff. It was, like, really weird. And we passed through this bit, and someone just yelled out of nowhere, "It's a train! Oh my god!" And I'm just like, oh shit, what the fuck? And it was like, it felt like we were, like, escaping a war or something totally weird. And the cloud dirt bubbles are just outside, and then through all that shit, as it, like, gets through this fucking weird shit, it gets through, and it's like a brown mountain peak appears, like, far enough to consider but not to really avoid, right? Like, oh shit, there's a mountain coming up, and I hear someone else yell, pull up, and then we crash, right? But at that moment when we crash, I close my eyes at the point of impact, and when I opened them, I'm on this smaller plane, right? And I'm on this small plane, sitting behind this Jamaican pilot with a headset on, like it's this tiny plane kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I thought we were dead. And he's like, I thought we were dead when we hit that mountain. And he's like, oh, we crashed, but I've made a water landing. Oh shit, like, we're, like, in the water. And then he's this Jamaican dude, and he's, like, telling me when we open the window to get out fast, because the plane's going to sink really quick and all this shit. And so as soon as he opens it, I jump out, like, in this perfect jump into a dive, but with my suitcase and all this shit, like, yeah, and swim over to this nearby GTA, like Grand Theft Auto style ladder out of the water.
Was the plane in the water when you switched to the smaller plane?
Like came out of that dream, like, as if we crashed, and then it's like, oh, we just crash landed, but I did a water landing. Like, yeah.
Alright, yeah. And so then you get to the GTA island.
Yeah, like, jump out with my suitcase and shit, swim across to this Grand Theft Auto style ladder coming out of this ravine, sort of like Venice style or Caribbean ravine, you know. Like, climb up this fucking ladder. And then somehow he's crash landed this plane, into this Venetian type canal in the Caribbean. The wet jeans and shoes and all that shit, like, felt really real when I was swimming. I'm kind of sinking, heaviness, shit, it's really hard. So I'm pulling myself up the ladder, and as I begin to walk to my hotel, I overhear tourists talk about having the same crash landing experience, right? And how it happens more these days. And the vague feeling of the UK plane trip with all that drug shit and weird shit in it. Like, the end of the world drug bust plane crash was like this faint memory, and it's like we just fled to the Caribbean from some global conflict. And it's like we were trying to, like, go to paradise until the world was over type of thing. So that would explain why the island felt like this raging party, because, like, we got there and it seems like it's only members are, like, accepted, like, the beach with Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, you get there in this cool plane crash, it's like, ooh, and you just go to, it was such a retarded dream, it was fucked. And then so it just ended, like, with me sort of en route to my cool hotel in paradise or whatever. After being on 2 plane crashes.
Can you hear it calling? You arriving on this. Man, I don't know what to say about that.
We have to go die in paradise.
It must be your Nordic gene speaking, I think. It's the Valhalla, a Southeast Asian Valhalla.
I think the good bits about it were the looking out the window of the thing, seeing these dirty soap bubbles in the sky that are sort of like going past the windows instead of clouds, and then hearing someone yell, "Oh my god, it's a train!"
Was there a train anywhere?
It just made it feel like we were close to the ground or something.
You always have these transport type things. You mentioned before about a certain freeway incident on the Gold Coast in a dream. That's a long time ago, crossing a river down the street and everything.
Oh yeah, that was messed up.
I like DohDreams. I think they all give us something to ruminate on. I think
it was definitely worked out. So I guess the only thing I can really take from it is if the world's going to shit, try and find some cool paradise island and go there.
Well, that's good advice. I think that we can all follow. But it's interesting while we're talking about that. I suppose psychic mental stuff. I was reading an article about Chinese comedy, and there's a class being taught by Z here, and he refers to the Chinese scholar Lin Yutang introduced the word humor, transliterated as yumo, to the Chinese language, distinct from satire, wit, ridicule, and slapstick. In a famous 1934 essay, he defined humour as an attitude that emerges when those who are intelligent begin to be suspicious of human wisdom and begin to see human stupidity, self-contradiction, stubborn bias, and self-importance. He saw humour as a civilizing force. Humour is funniness without feeling. Funniness is humour without feeling. So I thought that was an interesting rumination on the nature of comedy.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
It's pretty Chinese.
It's pretty Confucius.
Confucius does say a lot of things, but yeah, I just thought that would be our sort of world culture segment, because I don't have any It's Time for Africa.
It's true though, it's that yin-yang kind of succinct and always contradicting yourself kind of shit.
Yeah, so inscrutable. So inscrutable and mysterious, but fuck, well, yeah, that's... Oh, actually, can I nominate a knob of the week sort of thing?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You know how I said I was going to go to that Festival of Dangerous Ideas?
Yeah.
Oh, I fucked up and didn't go to it because I thought it was on Sunday. And I missed it, right? And my girlfriend only reminded me when it was like, there was like 10 minutes to go in the actual performance. This is with John Safran and someone at the Opera House. So I ring up the Opera House anyway. And after a few rings, it's like, hello. And you know how usually if you were making a line to like a movie thing, it'd be like, hello, Kirsty, or whatever. It's like, hello, Sydney Opera House. Like sort of like smug and like sort of snotty. And I'm like, oh yeah, I thought the day was tomorrow and I've got these tickets. She's like, oh no. I just while I'm telling the story. So I'm already a bit annoyed or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, I wouldn't be able to like... She's like sort of like, oh yes, over the top of me while I'm saying it. And then I'm like, so I wouldn't be able to get like another show tomorrow or something like that? And she's like, no, like if you missed your plane at the airport, you wouldn't just be able to get... They wouldn't turn it back around to come and pick you up, right? Which is sort of fucked. And I'm like, I didn't know what to say, so I said quickly, I was just like, oh, actually at Sydney Airport they know me, they'd send the plane back for me. And she was like, oh, it was just an analogy. And I'm like, oh, you patronising stuck up bitch. Oh my god. So anyway,
I don't even care who you are.
Like I would have rather had someone who's like, no, sorry. Like,
or even a fucking call centre in India.
Totally. Vodafone or Virgin.
You cannot have. I am sorry, you cannot have.
I'm with Virgin, and all their help people are Filipino, and they're brilliant. Yeah. They're really good. They're like, hello, Mr. Rice. How are you? You going out to this weekend?
She weaseled you by going along with it with all this patronising bullshit. Like, oh, yes, I really feel for you.
Yeah, this fake sympathy. Like, oh, there's only 5 minutes of it left.
But you know that, and then the smuggest line is pretty fucking cool. That chick's a boss, but she's a piece of shit.
I know. I mean, joke's on me. I missed the performance. Didn't get anything else. She got to be a bit of an asshole in her job. So.
Right in your fucking diary, motherfucker.
I know. I was actually asleep at the time. On a Saturday afternoon. Oh, fuck.
What was it? John Safran got slept on.
Yeah, John Safran got fucking slept on. Oh, sorry guys. I wish I could have been there. But that's about the sum of my day. I feel good. It's like I've had a sort of cathartic experience. Just being able to chill around here on the Cones and Doh show.
Oh, there was this cool thing recently. Did you see it on the news? this Brazilian MMA fighter, this lady, Monique Bastos.
Yeah. Brazilian.
Basically was getting robbed by some guy.
Yeah.
And put a chokehold on this motherfucker and called the cops. It's so awesome.
Don't show me a picture of it now. Oh, that's pretty embarrassing. He's straight up. He's got... What's she got? Her legs around his head in the
So
first
some
one?
guys rocked up to them apparently and wanted their phones on a motorcycle and tried to steal their phones, and then she just looks like she got him in like a triangle from behind on his neck, and then it's just like holding the triangle there until the cops come. It's pretty awesome. I thought that was a fucking sweet, positive kind of mixed martial arts / UFC or whatever you want to call it story.
Everybody wins out of this except for the guy getting the chokehold.
It's brought women like this awesome protected kind of, the ones that know this shit, and then even people watching. Like I've learned a few chokeholds from Brazilian jiu-jitsu and shit just from observing mixed martial arts, and the more it can infiltrate everyone's mentality, the more it's going to just fuck up people. But hopefully it doesn't make people escalate to weapons and everything.
It'll be an arms race. Especially in Brazil, I reckon the gangs there in the favelas, they're like, fuck, so many people know MMA. We got to get the AKs out and stuff like that.
It's such a good story, though. This guy tried to rob some woman, then she just puts this fucking chokehold on him. She should have choked him out, though.
Still, she made sure the cameras were there. That's what it's all about this day and age.
Yeah, just get your mates to take pictures like, check out this dumb motherfucker. Hey, puta. Oh, that's probably not Portuguese. It's a bit racist.
Totally. Hey, fuck, marry or kill Tina Turner, Hillary Clinton and Barbara Streisand.
Hillary, Barbara and
Tina Turner.
Whew. Kill Hillary.
Okay.
Fuck Barbara. Marry Tina.
That's
just because we have to pick something, alright? Yeah.
But that's probably about the only option we need.
Well, yeah, Hillary wouldn't like it.
If you're going to have to marry, the main
Barbara, you wouldn't want to have to come home to.
See, with this question, the main one you have to weigh up upon is marry, because the fucking and the killing can be over and done with pretty quickly. That's what I've discovered about this game. So I think out of those, you'd have to say that Tina Turner.
Gotta give us some Nutbush for sure.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite jam of hers, I reckon.
The fucking...
that's cool.
My friend also sent me this other link. I'm not sure how solid the science is, but it seems like it's full on. That apparently just staring at someone else's eyes for a really long time can give you the same sort of psychedelic experience as some other drugs can as well. Like some people started tripping out and thinking they were seeing their own face in the other person's face and seeing a monster and
I can see that,
just all this weird stuff happening. But
I don't know if I want to.
It's almost like the lack of stuff changing just makes your brain want to change it.
The lack of stuff changing makes your brain want to change.
Like visually, yeah. If you just it's like meditation in a way as well. Like some older forms of meditation would have people staring at candlelight.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
Fire will do that. You can stare at fire and shit. Like,
But it seems totally legit.
Is this internet science though, or real science?
It says science alert, but it is .com.
Right. Next random person I see in the street, I'm just going to stare into their eyes.
Maybe that's what Tom Cruise is doing. He's just tripping out on other humans.
Totally.
Like,
dude, he's got like the best that El Rabbit has to offer. He's got some of the highest level Thetan clearances. Like, that's what those like icy blues can do. They can drill into you and stuff.
He pierces into your soul, but then he gets such a fucking rush.
I don't know. Whereas Mel Gibson, that's more like God's peering into his soul. And that's why he acts the way he does. Whereas Tom Cruise is looking into your soul.
Mel Gibson needs Cyclops glasses.
Fuck, about a week
to stop the laser racist beams coming out.
About a week ago, Mel Gibson nearly knocked out a photographer in Paddington or whatever, at some movie or whatever, right? Where he was there with his something like 27-year-old girlfriend coming out and all this. And she's like, no, leave him, Mel. And he's like swearing and shit. Fuck. He's old school. It's like some Errol Flynn shit and stuff.
Fucking Mad Max. I love that, all that South Park shit with him, like, shitting all over Cartman's face at the end of that episode.
That was pretty brutal.
All Bravehearted up and shit.
Fuck.
The guy's a maniac.
He got pretty ripped, but...
I kind of like, I liked Apocalypto, though.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, too. I thought it was such a... It's weird, everyone frames him as a crazy racist, but I've never seen a movie that was from Hollywood, like a big budget thing, that was so immersive in, like, another culture sort of thing.
Yeah, it was like a Hollywood version
thriller
of...
just set in that world,
yeah.
And I thought that was fresh.
Of an international movie. Yeah. I guess, like, indie movie producers and shit would probably feel a bit ripped off, but I thought it was fucking tight. I liked all the violence and shit as well, though, you know?
I think people might consider him more racist, not so much because of that, but because they're yelling about Jews when getting pulled over drunk and everything by the side of the road. But Jews aren't even a race.
So obviously he was drunk and confused.
It's that God talking to him again. Fuck. He needs to meet up with Tom Cruise and fucking chill out.
People just keep proving that alcohol's bad.
Alcohol
you should just be smoking bongs, people, seriously.
Yeah. Mel Gibson, fucking toe cup. I'll sort you out if you want. You can tell stories, but you have to do it in character as Lethal Weapon 2.
Maybe that's what Robert Downey Jr. was really saying. He was like, "Oh, I've been token up with Mel, and he's ready to work again."
I hope so. I hope it's ready to work.
Have you been working on any music lately? I don't know, I feel pretty good. It seems like we should probably wrap this bitch up, but...
Yeah, we can wrap this bitch up like it's a fucking letter bomb delivered to the fucking British government in Belfast in 1981.
We'll keep it nice and tight this week, probably just around an hour, but...
Around an hour?
Hopefully we can keep pumping them out each week.
You've been listening to the Cones and Doh Show. Hopefully you found us. We're up on SoundCloud.
Yeah, if you got any emails, send them to conesanddoh@gmail.com, so it's CONEZANDDOH@gmail.com. Send us any weird
paranormal sightings. Yeah. Listen to us on SoundCloud. You know how all this cyber shit works. I think we've basically summed up what we want to say. I think it's been good. I think it's been productive, and I want to thank all our listeners because it's cool if someone's listening to us sort of inane ramblings.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Especially if you've just picked us up by a random. It's impressive.
How about a deep house cut to finish? Tractor Boy.
Tractor Boy?
Tractor Boy.
I'm down for some Tractor Boy.
Everyone's down for the Tractor Boy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what is it? It's a Cones track, right? And it's, featuring Scott Grimes, kind of.
Something like that.
Alright.
Drop that shit, DJ.
It's been nice.
See you next week.
Yeah, man. I'll see you soon. Take it sleazy.
Try to stay out of the field a little while.
Alright, give it the Eiffel.
Oh. Double Eiffel. Oh. Imagine two Eiffel Towers next to each other.
I don't know if when you're doing the Eiffel Tower, if you do the too slow, if the girl gets annoyed or not. But...
I think the girl's already sort of in a bad mood. Paris didn't like the Eiffel Tower when it was first erected, put it that way. Here's Tractor Boy.
Alright, see you, Cones.
See you, Doh.
Tractor Boy. Tractor Boy. Tractor Boy. Got you in my tractor beam. 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 Got Tractor boy, ain't you got the